Probably not that.
I think it was just lunch. Gave me, like, energy. It's
Maybe.
really weird.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
You know what's
Everything is
not
fine.
weird?
What?
This podcast, hi, welcome to the...
Well, that's a lie. That's a bold-faced lie, but, you know.
Where are we again?
Sorry. Welcome to the Semi Bookish Podcast. This is Adrian District Library's podcast. Hello, everyone. This is actually a rehash from last week because we recorded an episode and it died. Thanks, laptop that we recorded on. Love that for us.
Vanished into the ether, never to be found again.
It recorded like 18 minutes of it and then died. So
Oh, maybe we'll do like a lost episode where
Just a compilation.
I think we
Yeah.
have like 2 episodes where that's happened.
That could be
fragments.
fun, where we do like an introduction of like, hey, this is what we got up to, and if it cuts off in the middle of it, or if
We died.
yeah, or if it just doesn't make sense, these two things together, it's because it's not supposed to. This is a, what do they call that? A director's cut, I suppose?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's entertaining you, Tony? Mr. I'm zingy today.
What's entertaining? I am so overloaded. It's fine, actually. Recently, and Grant will have to share his thoughts on this movie because...
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
'cause
are you going to do the whole spiel over again?
About Hamnet?
Oh, no. I thought you were going to talk about Wuthering Heights. Or was that...
Oh,
No,
we
you
got
did.
That got
we talked
released?
about,
Okay.
Yeah, you guys talked about Wuthering Heights too, but talk
Okay.
about Hamnet instead, because obviously from what I'm hearing,
Okay.
seeing, you're probably going to like Hamnet a bit more than Wuthering Heights. No.
Okay, yes, but let me clarify those statements.
Oh, no.
So, Wuthering Heights was trash. Emerald Fennell is trash. Not as a person. She's actually a good actress.
It's made to be watched in clips on TikTok.
It's what?
It's made to be watched in clips on TikTok.
That's
I
true.
mean, you do know she wrote an
So just-
entire Cinderella musical, right?
I think you just cut out all of the Margot Robbie bits. No offense to Margot Robbie, but she should never be in any historical picture ever again until she actually reads books by women who lived in history, because it's clear that she hasn't, and she thinks of women as these like doe-eyed figures who dress in anachronistic clothing, based on this and Legend of Tarzan. She's just terrible. In period pieces, she's a wonderful Harley Quinn. Actually, I kind of really like her as Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn is not as easy a character as people think she is to play. You have to figure her out. Anyway, the point of that is, I didn't like Wuthering Heights the movie. It's not only just a trash movie, but also no one on the set read that book. No, nobody did. And I'm convinced that most people who talk about Wuthering Heights haven't actually read the book. People don't really know what that book is about, and it's very strange that people don't, because it's not confusing. It's very straightforward, actually. You just have to know how to read words, which, okay. Enough of that. I saw Hamnet. Grant and I saw Hamnet. And my feeling about Hamnet is the same that I feel about Sinners, but kind of in reverse. Sinners has an ending problem. The ending feels rushed and tacked on to me.
Feels like 2 endings as well.
It does, yeah, which I don't mind a double ending. I mean, I love a good double ending, but it feels to me as though the movie was doing, really, really well at doing what it was doing until you introduce the supernatural element, which does come kind of out of left field, literally a field. And it's like, yeah, that's a great way to introduce vampires, but like 30 minutes ago. I mean, like, it just felt like it, and everything after that kind of just feels like the latter half of a horror movie, when the first part of that film is not that, if that makes sense. To me, that's not how I felt. It's a little discombobulated. So Sinners, I think, is greatly overrated in its popularity this season for the awards. I'm grateful that it has 16 award nominations, just because I think Ryan Coogler deserves it. I think Michael B. Jordan, as an actor overall, deserves it. I don't think this is his best role by far, but Just Mercy was his best role, if you're going to ask me. But I think that both have been doing great work for a long time, and oftentimes people are awarded for work that is not their best. Just call Leonardo DiCaprio and he'll tell you all about it. Or Will Smith, frankly. I think there were movies that were... I haven't seen King Richard, to be honest, but I think that he had been doing Oscar award-winning work for many years before that, and so...
Pursuit of Happiness.
Yeah.
Even I Am Legend, which it's not easy to carry a film almost entirely by yourself, and he pulled it off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he does. And I think that, both I Am Legend and Pursuit of Happiness struggle as films overall, but Will Smith in them is just quite extraordinary and wonderful. And he is anyway. Anyway, all that is to say, I feel similarly about Hamnet, but my problem with Hamnet is not the end, it's the beginning. It needs another half hour in the beginning to convince us that these two people...
I agree. It rushes through that whole...
And it uses a sort of vague historicism to do it, which is really annoying in a historical picture, particularly a historical picture about Shakespeare of all people. I think its biggest win is that you never hear his name until there's a play being staged. Mm-hmm. And that is such a powerful omission. You know who it is. The movie's called Hamnet. I mean, you know that this guy that Paul Mescal is playing is William Shakespeare. But they don't even call him Bill. Every character has a name, and their names are stated, including like the parents and the kids and everybody. Mm-hmm. But Will Shakespeare, even the name Shakespeare, is not even mentioned until way late in the movie when someone asks, "Hey, where's that? Who are you looking for?" William Shakespeare, and then. But that's not a spoiler, by the way. But the point is that takes a great feat of writing as well as filming to pull off, and to make you care about a virtually nameless character that your audience knows, because this is a movie in English for people who watch movies in English, But the first half hour to 45 minutes is so oddly paced that it does kind of kill any opportunity that you should have to really fall in love with these characters. And so you have to find other ways, and it leaves the ways in which you do attach to the characters rather flat, because you are attaching to them through tragedy only, when what there should have been room for is to attach to them through happiness and love first. Or even just the chance meeting of people who find themselves outcasts in their own families, but also, they see each other clearly. That was not articulated at all in the beginning parts of the film, and I thought that was a failure.
I'd be interested to see how much the book that it's based on also shares these problems, or if this is an error in translation or something.
Yeah, because, for a book, it's a fairly short book, particularly for, it's, I don't know, like 300 pages maybe, which is short for today's book standards. And I know that the author was one of the writers, co-wrote the screenplay with the director. So I don't know if that is just a failure of translating from book to film, or if the book also has that issue. I have not read the book. I would not know. But I do think that I think that both films would be bad candidates for Best Picture, to be honest. In terms of winning, I think they both earn their nominations in different ways, but that they do not deserve the win for Best Picture.
The only one of the two that I think has a chance is possibly Sinners, but I don't think it's gonna make that leap personally. But
you never know. It's been a weird awards season, to be honest. It's been a very unpredictably strange awards season with different wins and things happening all over the place. I think One Battle After Another really is the sort of front runner.
Yeah, which I have opinions about.
Yes, I know you do. I need to watch it still. So that is the movie that's been entertaining me. Do you guys want to know what game I've been playing recently?
What game have you been playing
recently? Gosh, this is such a geeky moment for me. All right, I'm going to pull out a memory from the Vault of Tony, as Grant likes to call it. So back when I was a little Tony, and I had a younger brother. I still have a younger brother. Nothing happened to him. But does anyone remember the Goofy movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the game you were talking about.
That wonderful classic. Yeah. So, the Goofy movie is wonderful, but you know what's better than the Goofy movie?
The extremely goofy movie?
Goof Troop, the TV series.
I remember that show.
It's phenomenal. Like, it
fun.
is ridiculously good because it takes everything that we love about the Goofy movie and says, how about we give you episodes that are just as good? And they're so good. Anyway, they made a video game. Super Nintendo Capcom actually made a video game that was available on Super Nintendo.
Thank you, Capcom.
Yes, thank you, Capcom, of Goof Troop. And my brother and I played that game to distraction. I mean, as I was playing it this past weekend to refamiliar, because it just came out in the past week, because
They re-released it.
They re-released it, and Capcom did like a whole they put a bunch of their Disney-esque games together in a bundle and said, "Hey, here, have this for $20." And I was like, "Say less." It was really weird playing it by myself, first of all, because I only ever played that game with my brother, so I felt really guilty, which is funny because my brother bought the game too, so it's like we were probably both playing it at the same time, just in different houses, but I felt really guilty. But I also felt angry because it's so much harder to play by yourself. But I think that's the true mastery of the game, is that two people can play that game, and it's so much more fun, and it's so much richer, and it's so much better as a game than, say, the Jungle Book game, which is just, I almost swore,
Please don't.
horrible.
This is a family-friendly...
It's horrible. There's a letter in the alphabet that you can find for how horrible it is. It comes after E. It's terrible. So, it's fun. It's just hard. So I played Goof Troop. That's the game that's been entertaining me lately. And I am reading... I'm going to attempt to read all of Toni Morrison's novels in the next few months because I found a really interesting way of thinking about them based on... There's that book I'm reading right now. It's called On Morrison by Noam Wally Serpell. It's all about her writing and, strategies and all that kind of thing because she's a Harvard professor digging down the way Harvard professors do, and she's really good at it. But she made me realize something that I kind of speculated on, but then she pointed it out, and I was like, I wasn't wrong. So, for all of her first 5 novels, there's a corollary novel that is basically her rethinking all 5 of those novels. So, I'm just going to do this really quick.
Are you going to read, the 5 novels that are attached to a corollary and then read the
Yeah, so,
corollary?
for example, For the Bluest Eye, I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to read God Help the Child, which was the last novel that she published. But they're both about childhood assault trauma. Because God Help the Child is basically her retooling The Bluest Eye. Beloved, which was her 5th novel, has a companion novel called... It's not a companion novel, but A Mercy is also about slavery. I've read both of those, and I'm going to reread them again because they are comparable to each other. To be perfectly honest, both of them are perfect. Beloved and A Mercy are perfect. I like Beloved a little bit more because it's got more in it. It's juicier. It's saucier. It's more clever. I mean, there's a whole section in there that she basically redoes Huckleberry Finn, but instead of it being a slave man and a young white boy, it's a slave woman and a young white girl. It's brilliant. It's so good. So Beloved is just juicier than A Mercy, but they're both addressing sort of the question of slavery from completely different Morrisonian angles, and it's so good. The only book that doesn't have a corollary, which I found really interesting, and I think of it as Jazz Stands Alone. Jazz is the only one that has... She didn't need to rethink that one. And even she said throughout her career, she said Jazz was her best book because everything she wanted to do, she set out to do in that book, and she did it. And I was like... And it's just, I don't know. And also the book narrates to you, as a book. The book is the narrator, which is diabolically genius, I think. So, anyway, that's what I'm doing. That's my entertainment. What are you?
Me?
Yes, you. How are
Okay.
you? How are you? Sorry, Erin. How are you being entertained?
I need to tell you about my sim save right now because Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So
Is he in your sim save?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
The
did they
Grim
drop?
Reaper is.
Ooh.
Anyways.
They're friends.
I was gonna say, did they drop the Holy Roller Pack? That'd be interesting.
No. So they have a new pack that came out I think earlier last month. So in February, it's about royalty and nobility and stuff like that. You can sword fight. You can create dynasties.
Can you joust?
No.
Oh, come on.
But technically, maybe because there are horses. I haven't.
Wasn't there a
gotten that far.
medieval themed like Sims game a few
Yes,
years
it's called The Sims Medieval.
Okay.
There's also
Probably joust on that.
an expansion pack. Technically, you can buy both at the same time now on their app.
Oh.
But it's Sims, the Sims Medieval, and then they have an expansion where it's pirates and nobles.
Ooh,
That's added into it.
I love pirates.
Yes, you can still buy them on the EA app. Yes, it is still worth the entire amount of money you put into it because it's not done traditionally like a Sims game where it's like you can do open world things, but the idea behind it is you get like kind of like this circle and
Sorry.
but the circle each has like different like little like slots and you can pick it and it's an aspiration and you have to work as that noble trying to complete said aspiration and then you can go on to another one and then another one and then another one and the goal is to get all of them filled in.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that.
The thing that I really like about this save right now that I'm doing is right now I have a character, her name's Ember, and she's a naturopath sim. So what she does is she basically does like fairy, like she does like holistic like doctor stuff where she makes like little apothecary and there's an apothecary skill. Apothecary
Jars?
Medicines
Potion?
for
Medicines,
people
sure,
who
yeah.
have these ailments.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things that she does.
Essential oils?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things she...
I desire your strongest essential oil potion seller.
And so that's from the fairy pack. So that's what she's been doing. But she's been living in this town called Ravenwood. And Ravenwood is from the Life and Death pack. And in that pack, you can actually become a Grim Reaper as a job. It's like a whole entire thing.
Oh, I love there's like 4 animes that do that, right?
Yeah, and so you can become that, or you can become like an Undertaker, which I think she's going to do after she maxes out what she's doing. She's also a spellcaster. So she's not actually a fairy because I tried being one and I absolutely hate the UI for it, so no. It gets rid of the hunger bar and you have to go steal emotions from other people, and I'm like, I don't want to have to do that. That's a lot of work. We're not doing that.
I love that they went with like what fairies really are.
Yeah,
like.
no, they really did.
That's fun.
And so in the nobility pack, you can create dynasties and basically make them nobles if you want. Like, it's 2 completely separate mechanics. And so right now she's in a dynasty with herself and she has a fiance. His name is Akira. She met him by accident at karaoke.
Nice.
And so, it's gone from there. But, so one of the holidays in the Sims game is the lottery day. And you can basically buy a 100 simoleon lottery ticket, and then typically you don't win. You never win. I have never won any single time that I've done this. Akira won.
Oh, Akira won.
2 nights ago. He was living in my house. They live together. Like, their boyfriend, girlfriend, they live in the house.
That's nice.
1 million simoleons. $1 million!
That's...
I've never had that many simoleons in my entire life playing this game.
Yeah.
So are you a simoleonaire?
Yeah! Actually, I sold the house and got them a nice better one at the bigger lot, which they still have about 750 simoleons left over still. So they have plenty to go off of. And so from there, doing that, she started the dynasty, and she's now the dynasty head. And what their kid is going to have to go through is they have this giant Gothic manor. They're going to have their heir, and the heir is going to live as a teen alone in that giant house all by herself because her parents are going to die in a tragic accident, and she's going to have to do the Gothic, living alone kind of thing, but that leads her into starting the Reaper career because she thinks if she joins the Grim Reaper career, she can get her parents back, but that's not how that's going to work, and so she accidentally becomes immortal.
Okay. That is the answer to these things, I think.
So that's what's entertaining me right now, and then by the time we get to the next episode, I will have finished and played Resident Evil 9, and I will give you my thoughts.
Oh, I can't wait to hear those, yeah.
I love Leon Kennedy so much. Anyways, Grant, what's entertaining you?
Well, I've been sick for like a week. So I've been busy, balancing the old humors and, bathing in leeches and stuff like that. All the best, most modern treatments.
Yeah.
I've spared no expense.
I've always wanted to take a leech bath.
I don't.
I'll do it once.
Oh gosh, that's another Wuthering Heights thing. Oh,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. There's a leech scene. Oh, boy. Well, I've been playing games, too. I'm almost certain I've mentioned this game on the podcast before, but I've been playing a lot of Hexen, which...
I think you've mentioned it a couple times.
I'm sure I have. It was recently, like, fully remastered. You know, so they fixed some mechanics, made it a little more user-friendly. So I've been doing that a lot. It's basically it was made on the Doom engine by Raven Software before they were like indentured servants forced to make Call of Duty games until the end of time.
Fair.
poor souls.
Yeah, I know.
But they can eat.
Sure. But yeah. So it was made in the Doom engine. It's basically Doom with medieval themed, fantasy themed weapons. Light RPG elements. There's no like leveling up or anything, but you know, there's a lot of different items, abilities, stuff like that. Yeah. Famously obtuse level design, which the first few run-throughs, you know, it can be slightly annoying, but it's also really rewarding. You know, once you once you complete the puzzles, once you figure out the layout of the level in general, and you're like, oh, I had to pull that knob over in the northeast section or something, you know.
Right.
Labyrinthine but fun. So that's been a lot of fun. I've been playing mods, like, you know, levels that other players have made and stuff, which is neat. I'm not reading anything at this very moment, but I just finished Natural Symbols by Mary Douglas.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did that go?
It went very well.
Good.
Got through it pretty quickly. So I think I mentioned it when I read her last book on the podcast, which was Purity and Danger, which is, you know, she's an anthropologist, first of all, or she was. And in that, she was basically trying to figure out why each culture basically has, you know, things that they consider dirty, you know, refuse as opposed to other things, and is it arbitrary where and why are these lines drawn and whatnot.
Yeah.
And basically what she settled on was, you know, every society or culture, you know, they try to categorize, you know, basically their world, but none of these systems of categorization can be like completely exhaustive, and so things that whatever doesn't fit in these systems typically ends up you know, as like a taboo substance, or you know, something that's considered bad or evil, or a polluting agent or something.
Yeah.
So that was that book. This one, you know, as she admits in her, you know, a later forward that she added years later, it's kind of attempting to do too much at once, but you know, it's fine. You know,
everything, everywhere, all at once.
Great movie. Yes, but it's trying to do two things largely. So the title is Natural Symbols, like I said, and what she means by that is basically like how do I say this? Like, she tries to connect like the human body and how basically, you know what, I'm gonna skip that. Okay.
It's too complicated.
Yes. So and the other big part of it is she kind of came up with she calls it like her grid group theory, where it's like it's a graph that ends up being split into 4 quadrants. Grid relating to how well organized and, you know, delegated like the social hierarchy is basically, and how well people know their roles.
Sure.
And then the group, you know, axis or whatever is, you know, how well defined the group itself is, like how well they define themselves against like the outside world and whatnot. And she basically tries to show that, you know, depending on where a certain group or society or whatever falls on this graph, basically, you know, you can kind of predict what type of cosmology will emerge from that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, if you have one group kind of close to 0 and, you know, as far as both grid and group go, so they're not super highly organized, and the group itself, they might be, you know, groups come and go, people come and go, so it's not like a holistic thing. They have one type of cosmology, and then if you have one where it's a stronger group where they're basing everything like us, you know, and then there's everything else, and then that can kind of end up in kind of a witch hunt type of
stricter cosmology.
Where, you know, they're more protective of, you know.
I mean, look at the Puritans.
They
were extremely defined by their what you might call an agitation of difference. I mean, you know, they were so starkly different from everyone else because they wanted to be. That was the point, you know.
And I'm pretty sure she mentioned them as like an example of that, where there's not necessarily like a super organized hierarchy,
right?
But because they put so much weight into, you know, the separation between them and the outside world, that naturally there'll be like, you know, there'll be suspicion breeding within the society and stuff. So and going back to the other thing with natural symbols is basically like how just like in the ways people talk, and, you know, the way, kind of like an embodied symbols, basically. That are still like socially kind of determined in a way, but they kind of show up in all cultures. So that's it was a very interesting book. She does a lot of editorializing. She was a practicing Catholic, and, you know, you can definitely tell that, you know, she has opinions on. She goes off on the Protestants on more than one occasion, as like forsaking their, you know, the symbolic, you know, structures of, you know, Catholicism and stuff. But it's a whole thing. She's a very good writer, though. You know, it's always entertaining, even if you don't agree with her 100%.
Yeah. Well, you know, and the Protestants, they did forsake those symbols, but then they made their own.
That's true.
That's
true.
So. That's fun.
End of story. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, which we have done before.
Yeah, we have done this before.
I want to know. But here's my first question.
Yeah?
Who is Charles Lindquist, and why do we hate him?
We don't really hate him.
Oh.
I'm trying to be...
screed. All right, well, who is Charles Lindquist?
Okay. I feel like before we get into who he is, we should probably give slight context into what we're talking about.
Oh, sure. It was a leading question.
Yeah, but if we just start with him, everyone's going to be like, okay, why are we talking about this man? Especially during Women's History Month. Anyways.
Fair.
So, to start this off, this is the previous episode. We were talking about local history, and we were talking about Black History Month and the role that local history plays here in Adrian with Black History Month and stuff like that. So I made, and I actually saved all the little pieces, by the way. I made a cute little Black History Month in Lenawee County little display, and the idea behind the display was I was going to look up people who lived in Lenawee County, and this actually kind of started. One of the things that I learned while making a local history trivia that I did last year was that the first Black man to settle here was a guy who came down from Canada in 1866. I believe that's Thomas Wilson, but I don't know if his thing's actually in there. So I was like, all right, so who's this guy? And then I know that the first Black-owned businesses in Adrian were made in the 1870s, 1880s, which isn't unheard of, like, in certain areas of the country during that time period.
True.
But it's not as, like...
It's not well...
documented.
Yeah, and it's not ever discussed. I mean, you know, people don't talk about that. And so
I wanted to go a little bit further. And so what I did was I researched a slew of people off of the top of my own head that I found an article from like 1908 that discussed some of the people that I researched, and I just made a list and I just started going down it, and by going down that list I found more people, and then I researched the more people that I found, and then I got more people, and then it just kind of spiraled out from there. And so I made it into like this rotating display where like every single week I would replace like 2 people in the display with somebody brand new.
Yeah.
And the idea behind it was not only was I researching these people, but I was also just kind of documenting their stories. And their stories didn't have to be crazy significant to this town's history. It was just, who were they? Did they lived here? What did they do?
And they often died here too, right?
Yeah.
Like they lived their whole
every
lives
single
here.
person that I have listed.
Yeah.
All are buried out in Oakwood, I think.
Get out!
Completely serious.
Oh, I want to go see them.
I don't know exactly where they're located, but I know a majority of them are buried out in Oakwood. I think there's maybe like 1 or 2 who might not be, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
Oh, I would love to go see them.
So what I did was I did a lot of research into that. So now to answer your question, Tony, one of the research aspects or the things that I referenced, or I was trying to originally reference.
Yes.
Originally reference is the key point here, was history books that were written about Adrian. And one of those big books that a lot of people who live here or have anything to do with the local history of this area, anybody who's into history, will know is there's a guy named Charles Lindquist. And Charles Lindquist was the city historian for like the longest time, from like the 70s to like the 2000s-ish.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it was the 70s. It was somebody else in the 70s. He did the 80s.
Okay.
He was originally he originally worked for one of the libraries, and I don't remember which library it was. I think it was the county library, because I think his wife was a part of like one of the directors or something. I don't know.
Wow.
This is stuff that I don't actually know, and
Nepotism.
I'm actually not going to try to speculate.
Yeah, right, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Without having the actual newspaper article right in front of me. And so I was trying to reference his books to start, because that's where I initially, I think, read a couple things. So we don't exactly hate him. I have a beef with him.
That's a much better way of putting it.
It's a better way of saying how I feel.
Yeah.
And it's not because what he's written is bad, because he's done great work, in my opinion. He did great work. He's
Especially
no
given
longer
like the
living.
tools.
Given the tools that he has, researching this town and everything else that goes along with it.
Yeah.
Because this town was originally created in 1825.
Really?
That's why we had the bicentennial last year.
Oh, duh.
It was 1825.
That's what that word means?
Yeah.
When was the Croswell founded?
1866.
66,
Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, that's a fuzzy date just because that's when the first photos of the Croswell show up.
Yeah.
They speculate that the Croswell probably actually started around 1863 or 64, but there's no firm like sightings or anything of that necessarily.
Ooh, let me do some fun research.
Yeah.
We have newspaper from
okay.
the 1860s.
And if you find it, like,
I will let them know.
Let them know, because that's been a thing ever since I've moved here. Like they're like, we don't really exactly know. We just know that the first photos show up in 1866.
And so basically, one of the big things about it is he did great work. He did a lot of research from the 1825 until now, from when we weren't even a city yet. We were called Logan originally as a village.
Ugh.
Like, that's what we initially... one of the people that I'm going to do in the women's history one is Sarah Comstock, who is Addison Comstock's wife, and she's the one who created the name Adrian, because she was reading a book about Roman emperors and saw the name Hadrian and thought it was fun and decided that's what she wanted to name the town.
Why couldn't we have been named Hadrian? That would have been even
I
cooler.
don't ask me that question. I don't want to know.
I still think it's great that we're named after a Roman emperor, and the gay one at that. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Well,
but
yeah.
Anyway, so he did a lot of really great work. Not gonna knock him on that. His work on Black history in Adrian specifically is dismal and lackluster. I've been given a lot of different reasons as to why, and some of those reasons are understandable, which is like they didn't have the same like search capabilities that we do now. They had to scroll through every single like newspaper article by hand.
Sure.
They could have also just, you know, so I have beef with the fact that it's such lackluster stuff.
Yeah.
And I had been told time and time again as I started researching this at the beginning of the month in February that like I was not going to find articles, I was not going to find photos, I was not going to find very much of anything.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The 12 people that I have little cards for and the 2 women that I have cards for out there right now, so total of 14 different Black community members, African American community members. I'm using that term loosely because some of them came from Canada.
Sure, yes, right.
And so, using that term loosely, there's 14 people that I went and found newspaper articles about and were able to write entire, and Tony and Grant are in this room and they can, understand exactly what I mean. Actual, little, cards that do an entire biography of when they were born and when they died.
You know what you should call them?
What?
North American African diasporic peoples.
Oh my god.
Just because racism is absurd.
Can we shorten that?
Yeah, no, I know exactly. Wait, we'll work on it.
Yeah, and so, I did, a whole bunch, and finding them wasn't as difficult as I thought it could be. One of the things that the Historical Society had, which I'm very much grateful that they put it online for, was they had this... for those who hear me rustling papers around, I legit just brought the entire folder in from the Heritage Room.
It's like you're a historian or something.
I am.
Also, we can call them NAADPs.
Oh my god.
That actually makes me really happy.
We have an Afro-American directory from 1895. And this
from when?
1895.
Would that have been something that Lindquist maybe could have found at some point?
He did. He found it in 1989 is when he had a copy of it and wrote about it in the newspaper.
Hilarious.
But there is an entire directory, index of people. That's not all of them, but that's some of them.
Yeah.
And it was also just published online. And I counted and I went through every single person. And there's a total of, in 1895, 113 different people listed in the index.
Look at these street names.
Yeah, so some of those street names are actually, they're the today street names.
Yeah.
But the numbers are different because in 1916-ish, they changed the street numbers. So
that makes sense.
So all of those street numbers, those houses still exist. They're under different numbers.
Do we have a Henry Street?
Yeah, I think we do.
Where is Henry Street?
I'm not entirely sure. Hold on. But,
Sorry.
So I would look up the person from that directory. Hold on. There's not in town anymore, so that might have just been where
Might have been a street change, yeah. That's fascinating. Sorry, carry on.
And so I would look up the name from the directory, and I would just look them up in the Daily Telegram and in our newspaper archives, and then also in Ancestry, and I would just go from there. And so every single little bit of information that I found, I turned around, went on Ancestry, found their find a grave, found marriage records, found census records, found death records, legit, actual, carded death records signed by, the city and the county and stuff. Then I went on to, the newspapers, looked up their names, found any newspaper articles that were referencing them. If I had a death date, I would go to around their death date and see if there was an obituary posted about them by other people. Everybody was connected by at least the one church in town, which was the Second Baptist Church at the time. So a majority of stuff that you find about them during this time period. And these are people from 1860s to the 1930s. I wasn't trying to research people who are currently alive, specifically because that gets finicky because you could get misinformation from the newspaper at the time.
Sure.
If they're still alive and maybe that newspaper reported it differently. And you also kind of get that if you're doing that with older stuff, but that's all of the documentation I have. Right. So therefore, if I say I got it from the newspaper... that's it, point blank, period, if they're no longer living. But if they are living, that's completely different because I can go to that person directly and go,
Yeah.
Tell me your life story. I can't fit somebody who's alive's life story in a card in like 2 minutes. That's not going to happen.
That's fair.
And so my beef with him is more so the fact that there was like very little, if at all, in the newspapers.
Yeah.
I mean, not in the newspapers, in his books. And if they were in the books, it was like one sentence on an entire page. Like, it was like, let's talk about the churches in the 1890s, and it's going to be an entire page, and he's going to reference every church gets its own paragraph, but the Second Baptist Church only got one sentence. And that's where my beef comes from. Tony actually made a face, and it's like, that's exactly how I felt.
Wow.
And
there's a big old R word in there somewhere that feels like it's creeping up from...
like, finding the information was very interesting. So I think out of this... Hold on, let me kind of separate the guys out.
Was the R word ravioli?
Yes.
Yes, he hated ravioli. No.
3 of the guys that I researched were barbers. At least. Now, being a barber during that time frame is actually really, really common. If you were in the African American community during that time.
Absolutely.
Like, that was like a big social...
I mean, it's still common now.
It's still common now, but like back then, that was a big social gathering space for them.
Absolutely.
That they could meet, talk about things, had meetings, whatever.
Absolutely.
And barbers did a lot. Like, the title of barber encompassed a little more than it does today as well.
And so there's
that and the church were the two
There's like
places.
3 different gentlemen. One guy, his name is literally Albert Carter, and he's known as like one of like the more prominent members of the entire like not operation, but the cool thing about Albert is he was born here in 1870 in this town.
In 1870?
1870 in this town he was born. His father was Champ Carter and Mary Carter, and his father Champ and Mary Carter are the ones who were the reverends, and I think they might have created it because they were the ones building the church at the time. They're the creators of Second Baptist Church.
There were also former slaves.
I believe so.
It would have had to have been.
But
under emancipation, they would.
But like they were the ones that created the church that every one of these other people were all like a part of.
Wow.
Except for I think like a couple other people who are part of the AME church or the Christ Episcopal Church or whatever. But like that church specifically is like where a lot of these people funnel through.
Wow.
Not in a negative way, but in a like there you can see there's a big strong community that's going on.
That's
with this.
there, yeah.
And so he turns around and he goes to Chicago, comes back, becomes a barber, works for these 2 guys right here that I have their papers about. And then also works for the Page Fence Giants during their season, who was our Negro League baseball team at the time. He was the person who ran their private car because we had a white man who sponsored the team who gave them a private car so they wouldn't have to deal with segregation.
Brilliant.
We were like super weirdly progressive, not in a negative way at the time, but
we're
it was like,
still super weirdly progressive.
Yeah. And so like I have all of that. I have the date he literally died, but like in the newspaper, like he's like the executor of like 5 different estates at the time. Like getting close to his death date, like when some of these other people die, he ends up being like the executor of the estate for some weird reason. And I think it's because he was well educated enough to like be able to handle that.
Right, exactly.
And it was kind of nuts.
And he was probably very trusted as the barber and of what, preacher, right? Or was his dad the preacher?
No, his dad was the preacher.
His dad was the preacher.
He was just a barber.
So he has the 2 access points of Black American life at that time, which is the barbershop and the church.
Yes.
So that's that.
So a couple other guys who I think are really interesting that I want to mention out of these are a couple different guys. This one I don't know too much about him. I wrote his at the very last minute, but his name is Jeremiah Gazelle, and he was like the super old guy who came from the South. Nobody knows how old he was, but he died in 1892 here in town. He used to work blackening stoves, and so those were like cast iron stoves, and he would black them.
Yeah.
And he did that, and he was born in Kentucky, enslaved, escaped to Canada, came back to Michigan and settled in Adrian with his son. But he was kind of like this like character that people would ask him, Uncle Jerry, how old are you? And he would give you the most random answer on the planet, and it was never the same at all.
That's great.
And so that's kind of his thing.
I love that his last name is Gazelle. This just fits.
It's spelled different ways every single time you read it in the newspaper, too.
Interesting.
Just a mysterious man.
Yeah, him and his son George are like the weirdest two that I've been trying to find. Another guy that was really cool was William Clanton. And William Clanton, actually his 2 daughters are on my display right now.
Oh, fun.
Because I thought it was really cool to have that tie into somebody who's literally this cool, by the way. I'm not joking. He was born in 1830 in Louisiana in one of the parishes. And his dad was his master, unfortunately. But I will say I will give him slight props because he sent his son, Bill, to go get educated at Carey Academy in Ohio, which is close to Cincinnati, which is like, I think it's Belmont or Bergmont College.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about
It's like an actual university now.
Yeah.
But when he finished his education at age 27, he moved to Michigan and helped out with the Underground Railroad. And then once the Civil War was done, he moved here to Adrian, and he became the obituary jokes. It wasn't his obituary; it was a newspaper from the Detroit Free Press. But the article jokes and says he continued his work underground by becoming a gravedigger for Oakwood Cemetery. And it jokes about that, and it's the funniest little bit.
That's black humor. That's really funny.
The articles say nothing but great things about him. He has 5 kids: Langford, Charles, Fred, Hattie, and Cora. Cora and Hattie are the ones who are out there right now. Hattie marries one of the other guys that I researched, by the way, too. So there's that connection as well.
Or Langford.
What?
Langford. What a cool name, but everyone else, all of your siblings have these very normal names.
Actually, Langford is the funniest one. I will tell you a story that I read about him in the newspaper in a second. But his father, by the time he passed away at age 72 in 1902, he had dug about 5,000 graves from when he started working here in Oakwood Cemetery. Until 1902.
Wow.
Like, he worked up until he got sick and died.
Well, yeah.
He's cool. His son Langford is kind of a character that I found by accident the other day.
Did he dig his own grave?
No.
Okay.
He did get fined $100 though.
Why?
So I was looking up Cora, and it's in the same newspaper as something that's going on with Cora.
Okay.
Being in town to visit or going out of town to visit Hattie, who was living in Tecumseh at the time. It's like a whole thing.
All right, yeah.
And so Langford, so the article starts off, and it's the funniest thing you will read, by the way. If anybody has any free time in their lives, read old newspapers, because the articles and how they say them are the most ridiculous thing you will ever read in your entire life. You want the OG gossip, do the newspaper bit.
Yeah.
But basically, there was a shoe dealer downtown.
Okay, yes.
The shoe dealer talked to this lady named Natalie, and Natalie was looking for a pair of shoes. She did not find any she wanted, but the shoe dealer was very, very insistent on handing her this specific pair of shoes, and told her that she could take them and then pay him back later whenever she had the funds, and insisted that she leave the shop with the shoes.
Uh-huh.
She was a cousin to Langford. Now, she didn't want the shoes in the first place, and she was having trouble, as the article said, having a burden of life to replace the shoes.
Sure.
I mean, pay him back.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't do this. And so Langford hears about this from his cousin, who's freaking out about it. He gets really, really incensed about it, walks right into that store and decks him in the face. And the article starts with the shoe dealer. It's saying that the shoe dealer walked right into the justice's court that morning, his face bleeding from the nose because it had just happened, and he demands Langford have a warrant for his arrest and get arrested and thrown in jail. And then then they bring everybody in to discuss what happened, and they find out that he did all this stuff to the cousin. And so all he gets is $100 fine for punching this guy in the face.
That's
because
so funny.
they felt it was reasonable that he got incensed on her behalf.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And
right.
it's the funniest story because I'm like, I'm looking for this other woman, his sister, and instead I find this really funny story about him just getting really PO'd and just decking somebody, and I'm
The
like,
Saga of Langford.
so like that's some of the stories that I found.
Yeah.
Another cool guy that I found, he wasn't as cool as the Clanton family. But there's this guy named Joseph Alexander who was born on a plantation in West Virginia, and he had been living on the plantation with his brother and sister, who both fled after the Civil War started. But he stayed behind at age 14 to become part of the Union Army at the behest of his grandma.
Interesting.
And he became a hostler, or a teamster is the other word for it. And basically this is somebody who's responsible for caring for the animals and driving the supply wagons.
Oh, okay.
This is a really, really, like, dangerous kind of position, because this is like the drummer boys were like, they got targeted.
Yeah.
It's the same hat with this job too.
Right.
And so he does it for General Alexander, who is a big guy in Gettysburg. After that, he takes on General Alexander's last name. But that's why his name is Alexander. Last name is Alexander, but he moves to Pittsburgh with General Alexander's son, and they both go to school together, and they both start working together. But eventually Joseph, this is the guy's name, Joseph, he moves to Athens, Ohio, becomes a coal miner, and then moves up here in 1883 with his family, becomes the janitor at Christ Episcopal Church for 45 years.
Wow.
And then dies in 1931.
Wow.
There's a lot of history of, like, stuff where, like, I'm just researching this and I'm just going, look at all this stuff. Isn't it neat?
Yeah. Okay. I'm too NAADP for that. I'm going to start using that way more often, and people are going to be staring at me like, what?
But, like, researching all these people has been a lot of fun. And now I'm going to switch this over to women, and I don't know how I'm going to feel about doing all this, but it's going to be very fun.
I think it's great. And that, you're gathering a folder and...
Yeah, so we already have this folder in the Heritage Room. We have a folder for those who want to come in and look at this stuff later.
Yeah.
It's called Adrian Black Community, and basically what it is just everything that has to do with the African American community here in Adrian. It is not that big. I am working on making it bigger.
Yeah, nice.
And so what was in it before was, for some weird reason, stuff about Laura Haviland, and then the Afro-American Journal and Directory.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have everything, but it had stuff in it, and I don't have the full one. The Historical Society does. But I took everything that I've learned, all the cards that I've made, and they are now in this folder as well.
I love it.
Eventually, I'm going to turn around and not print the articles, but I'm going to do little pages on the back of every single card that lists all the different articles that I reference, so that way people can go find them on their own and go print them out if they want.
I love that.
And so the idea behind this is maybe next year I can do more, and I want to have enough people to go on the big display.
Yeah, no, I think this is awesome, and more people need to come to their library and use these resources and learn their history. Oh, wait, it's like I preach this every day that I live.
You do.
Thank you.
But you know what you should do now that it's up and this is in March? We have a Women's History Month display.
Yes!
That does the exact same thing. Right now it has two women who are also related to the Black History Month display. There's also Emma Bixby, who, for those who lived and grew up here in Adrian, they know her as the lady whose name is on the side of the old hospital. However, did you know that she was actually one of the first teachers for Adrian schools when it formed in 1849.
Oh.
And she was a founding member of the Ladies Library Association, which eventually became the Adrian District Library.
We should change this to the Bixby District Library.
We can't, because Adrian's the district, not Bixby. And the reason that her name was on the side of the hospital was because in 1810 her son donated $25,000 to I think it's one of the churches in town, and I think it was the Episcopal Church, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
And to build a church, no, it was like one of the Christ churches. Yes, I know we're over. I don't care. He donated money. She was living with him in Missouri at the time, but he donated the money to start this the new hospital because we didn't have one in town.
Oh.
Only with the stipulation that it was named after his mom.
That's sweet.
Yep. And then the other person on there, if we want to go with the hospital theme, is Mother Camilla Madden, who was part of the Adrian Dominican Sisters at the time. She's one of the first prioresses to ever exist. She came here in the 1890s when we first had our first hospital in town, which was St. Joseph Hospital, or St. Joseph Parish.
Yeah.
And she didn't want it to be a hospital any longer. She wanted to run an all-girls school instead. And so in 1896, she got permission to start an all-girls school, and that was what started St. Joseph Academy, which eventually became St. Joseph College, which became Siena Heights College, which became Siena Heights University. And they were initially part of an old congregation called the Holy Rosary.
Oh, yeah.
Most Holy Rosary.
Yeah.
In 1926, her and a bunch of the others kind of spearheaded a campaign where they were able to become independent from them, and in 1926, that's how they became, or 1923, and that's how they became the Adrian Dominican Sisters. And then she died 6 months later.
Wow. That's cool.
So those are my first 4 women on there, so.
We could probably do a whole episode on the Dominicans sometime, like you and Adrian.
You act like I wouldn't invite